This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome Rabbi Sai to the last Tomer Devorah of Taf Shin Pei. So the Tomer Devorah says in Parak Ches, we explained in the beginning of Parak Ches how a person accustoms himself with Netzach Hoid. Number one, by being Misayeya and Mechazek Loimdei Torah, and to learn from everyone, because Torah is not mishtalim from one Rav. And by being a Talmud from everyone, you're Zoicha to be a Merkava to Netzach and Hoid. And the one who's Mashpia Torah to the Talmidim is on the Madrig of Tiferes. And when you sit and you learn from everyone, you're Zoicha that Tiferes is Mashpia on Netzach and Hoid. And when you learn Mikra, which is from the right side, that is Misakein Netzach. When you learn Mishnah, which is on the left side, that is Misakein Hoid. And when you learn Gemara, it's Misakein everything. Now we're going to learn the Middah of Yesod. Be'ezus Hashem, it's the last one of the year, so we'll try to finish up Yesod today. The Tikkunei Zohar in Tikkun Yud Zayin, he says that a person's Eivarim are connected the various spheros. And the male organ, the bris milah, is connected Yesod. The same way the male organ, its function is to draw life from above and bring it to his wife. And by doing so, it creates generations. So that likewise corresponds to the contribution of the Middah of Yesod to the Middah of Malchus. Yesod, so to speak, is the foundation of everything, and it brings Chayim to Malchus. Now, this is primarily accomplished by guarding the bris and making sure that the bris milah is utilized only for the sake of the Isha, which is Malchus. So tzarcha adam lizar ma'od. One has to be very careful, not just to guard the bris, but also to guard anything that could cause a person to violate that. Mehadibor hamevi lidehir, from speaking that could bring to thoughts. Kedei shelo yavo lidei kari, so that a person doesn't come to tumah. A person has to be careful in his conversation not to say something that could lead to improper thoughts. Ein sarach loimer shelo yidaber nevala. One, it goes without saying that one should be careful not to speak lewd conversation or debased conversation, because as the Mesilas Yesharim explains, it's interesting. Speaking low, debased conversation, that is giloy arayos of the peh. Interesting. It's not that it could bring to giloy arayos. That is the way one is megale arayos with their mouth. Afilu dibur tahar hamevi lidehir. Even pure words, meaning there's nothing vulgar about each word, but it could insinuate an improper thought. Royally, Sharm, anyone, it is fitting to be careful from it. Dayek lishna dekra. V'hachi dayek lishna dekra. This is implied in the language of the pasuk. Al titein es picha lachti es b'sarecha. Do not devote your mouth to bring sin to your flesh. Here it's warning, shelo yitein piv b'dibur shemevi lahachti b'sar kodesh. It's warning not to designate your mouth with words that could bring sin to your milah, ois bris. And that is bekeri, that is through tumas keri. Meaning the words themselves are not chet, but it could cause chet. It could cause the bris to come to chet, that improper words that could bring to improper thoughts. Uchsiv, lama yiksayf aleikim al koilecha. Why should God get angry on your voice? Now, frek the Tomer Devorah of imhu navlis papeh, and if it's vulgar speech, mai lahachti, what does it mean to cause to sin? It's not causing to sin. Nivel peh is a sin. Hareo ba'atzmei chet. Why does it say lehachti, to bring to sin? It itself is a sin. Ela afilu shahadibur lo yachet. Even if the dibur is not chet in and of itself. Ela dibur tahar, it's pure sin. It may be li dehirer, if it will cause you to have improper thoughts, you have to be careful from it. Therefore it says, Lachti es besarecha, to bring sin to your flesh, lama yiktzef. Why should Hashem get angry? Yirtzeh, what that means to say is, Achar shemachti, once a person sins with their organ, then retroactively, yiktzef al oisei koil, God will be angry with those words that you said, afilu sheyiyah mutter, even if those words were mutter. Ki al yedei pe'ula ra hanimshachas mimenu. Because through a bad act that comes from your improper words, chazar hakol v'hadibora, it reverts the voice and the speaking to evil. Kol kach tzarch zehirus la'os bris. That's how much carefulness you need for the bris milah, shaloi laharav layashchas, not to have improper thoughts. So you don't want to say a conversation which inherently is clean, that could bring to improper thoughts, that could bring you to become tamei. Let's do one more paragraph. V'oid tzarich lizar, you also have to be careful, Yesod, that the Middah of Yesod, hu ois bris hakeshes, which is the covenant of the rainbow, because we know the rainbow is a arched upward, shooting downward. V'hakeshes eino drucha lamala. We know the rainbow is not focused and arched upward. Ela l'shaleach chitzim, meaning the arch is upward. Ela l'shaleach chitzim l'midas hamalchus, in order to send its arrows to the midah of malchus shehi matar lachetz, which is the target of the arrow. Meaning, the Yesod, the male organ, corresponds to the covenant of the rainbow. And the bow is arched above only to shoot arrows at malchus, which is the target. So shomeres, what does this refer to? Guarding the tipa hayorek achetz, which shoots like an arrow, lasos onof, to produce branches, veloces pri, and to create fruits. That means as follows: Kashem shemei olam lo yidroicha keshes elyon ela lenoicha chamatar niskeres. Just like the upper world of Yesod does not shoot and does not influence only the above mentioned target, which is Malchus, kacha adam lo yidroicha keshes. So to a person should not allow any this allegorical rainbow, which is the ois bris, to cause any influence and v'layaksha atzmei b'shum tzad, or cause itself to be bekishoy in any way, ela lenoicha chamatar ruya, only for its intended target, she ishtoi b'tarasa, which is one's wife, when she is pure, shu eis hazivug, which is at the time of zivug, v'al yoisim rizeh, but anything beyond that, yifgoy ma'amida azois, one should do away with it, chas v'shalom. Uma'oid ma'oid tzarich zehirus, this requires great carefulness, v'ikar hashmira, and the main way to guard oneself is biyoisoi shomer atzai min ahira, is to guard oneself from improper thoughts. So let me just share with you the comments of the Zohar. The Zohar has somewhat of a frightening comment, and that is, the Zohar says that for abusing the bris milah and for using it for its unintended purpose, for one who is moitzi zar l'vatala, there's no way to do tshuva. That is a comment of the Zohar, and other places the Zohar says you could be masakin. So the Avnei Nezer explains in the Hakdama to the Eglei Tal as follows: that for every chait you could do tshuva, because usually when a person sins, he sins belibai, and tshuva is belibai. You do tshuva in your heart. You have charata, your kabbalah believe. However, when one sins and is moitzi zar l'vatala, there's a concept of pi Kabbalah. The zara emanates from the mayach, from the brain. Even scientifically, we know the zara is influenced by the pituitary gland in the brain. So since when one is moitzi zera v'vatala, it causes a pagam in the brain, tshuva doesn't operate in the brain. Tshuva operates and corrects the heart, but not the brain. But, therefore, there is one way to be misakein moitzi zera v'vatala, and that is learning Torah b'iyun. When one learns Torah in depth, and he really uses his mind, that is a tikkun, in fact, to being moitzi zera v'vatala. That's what the Glatstein writes in his Akdama. The Shla explains maybe a little bit more Kabbalistically, but we should understand based on what we know. And that is, tshuva comes from the world of Bina. Now typically when one does an Aveira, he's poigim in Bina. But being moitzi zera v'vatala, you're poigim in a realm above Bina. What's above Bina? Chachma. And tshuva does not come from Chachma, tshuva comes from Bina. But the Shla says, if a person does a real deep tshuva, which is motivated by genuine limud Torah, so that's a tshuva that emanates from Chachma, so you're able to go into the area where Haitzah Zera V'Vatala created a pagam, namely Chachma, and corresponding to that, if somebody acts b'Chachma, based on the Torah that he learned, that type of tshuva will be effective. Marv Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us for Talmud Devorah and Tafshin Pei Be'ezus Hashem. We will continue in Tafshin Pei Aleph. We're almost finished the Sefer, and wishing everyone a year of bracha v'hatzlacha, good health, parnasa, nachas, v'imali Hashem kol mishalos libchem l'toiva, a good ben shtian. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.